Yep. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Strauss.
Here.
Trustee Dorigo.
Here.
Trustee Fulmer. Here. Mayor Jarvis.
Here. Start off with the public hearing number 1. Please take notice the local law has been introduced by the Village Board of the Village of Alexandria Bay to repeal and replace subsection 130-2 definitions of the village code that require affirmative action by village officials. In essence, definition change as used in this article, the following term shall have the meanings indicated. Person, any individual, partnership, corporation, association, firm, company, society, and group. Public hearing is open. Any comments from the public? Yes, sir.
I had hoped to direct a question to legal counsel, but it doesn't appear that legal counsel is here. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it's not urgent, so I can wait until the next time. I just wanted an explanation about procedure, which I think has to come from him. So, thank you.
Well, procedure with the public hearing or?
Procedure in terms of when someone violates the law and the village is going to take them to court, how that procedure works, what the timeline is, how it's dealt with, whether it goes to Superior Court or how that's determined, and what the window is.
I'll reach out to him next week when he's back from North Carolina.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you for letting me speak.
Any comments on public hearing number 1? So we'd like to close the motion, or make a motion to close public hearing on public hearing number 1.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing number 1.
I'll second. Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee Sprout to close public hearing number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing number 2 is a topic of subsection 130-9 for the repeal and replacement of this subsection. This has to do with notice required for village to be liable. No civil action shall be maintained against the village of Alexandria Bay for damages or injuries to person or property sustained in consequence of any public facility or property, including any street, highway, bridge, culvert, sidewalk, crosswalk, park, or dock, being defective, out of repair, unsafe, dangerous, or obstructed, unless it appears that a written notice of the defect or unsafe, dangerous, or obstructive condition of such public property or facility, including such street, highway, bridge, culvert, sidewalk, crosswalk, park, or dock, was actually given to the Board of Trustees, and there was a failure or neglect within a reasonable time within a giving of such notice to repair, remove the defect, danger, or obstruction complaint of. No such action shall be maintained for damages or injury to person sustained solely on consequence of the existence of snow or ice upon any sidewalk, crosswalk, park, dock, street, unless written notice thereof relating to the particular place was actually given to the Board of Trustees, and there was a failure or neglect to cause such snow or ice to be removed, or the place otherwise made reasonably safe within a reasonable time after receipt of such notice. Open to public comments. Any public comments?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Two.
Motion by trustee DeRigo,
I'll second.
second by trustee Fulmer, to close public hearing number 2. Public hearing number 3. To repeal and replace 109-4B with 110 of the village code brush, grass, weeds requirement. The change in this is the former code has, they have to give for 2 weeks before any other step can be taken. This is changing it to 3 days. And then the authority to proceed and to cut, trim, or remove the brush, grass, or weeds during the normal business hours by the village, and it will be charged to the individual property owner. Unless you want it written, or it read more specifically. Anything to the public?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing number 3.
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And public hearing number 4. Village of Alexandria Bay will hold public hearing April 12th, 2022 for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Village Board will present a tentative budget to the public and consider adoption for the fiscal budget at the same meeting. And that's for public hearing number 1 is presenting to the public. Any comments from the public?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing number 4.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Stowe, to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go into regular board meeting, and we'll start with public concerns. Any public concerns? We'll start with correspondence. To whom it may concern, Alexandria Bay Figure Skating Club would like to rescind a request to have concession during the summer of 2022, during the 4th of July and pirates invasions. We apologize for any inconvenience. Regards, Alexandria Bay Figure Skating Club. Next, we have 2 letters in regard to residents of the village of Alexandria Bay and reaching out and proposed 14 RV sites at Carnegie Bay Marina, located at 46642 Anthony Street in Alexandria Bay, New York. I reside on High Street and have small children, concerned about the increased traffic coming down the street. Of concern about RVs, the number of RVs coming and going down such a narrow street. During the spring, summer, and fall, many kids are biking, walking, playing. Additionally, the RVs will be driving very close to the playground. Having up to RVs parked in the area will also cause increases in transient vacationers in the residential area in the village. And this is submitted by Amanda Farida, if I'm seeing it correctly, 5 High Street. And essentially it's the same by, looks like Mary, can't make it, 64 High Street. Just the same complaint about all the RVs are gonna be traveling High Street. Any comments? Anybody? Need a motion to approve the minutes from March 15th, regular meeting, special meeting, March 24th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, March
I'll second.
15th and March 24th.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Fulmer, to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills, motion to pay the bills, abstract number 21 and number 22 is presented.
I'll make a motion, we pay abstracts 21 and 22.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Strauss, second by trustee DeRigo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Trustee Richards,
Starting with me.
starting with you.
Okay, so far, the beach, we have 3 lifeguards. We could use 1 or 2 more if anybody knows anybody that wants to be a lifeguard. The dive park is almost done. We're waiting for the, what do you call that, the ramp?
The ramp.
The guys are working on the ramp to be put back in, and it's too early to seed yet, so when we get to that, that'll be done shortly. I had a short meeting today with Thomas from Dank, just to go over, because we had the tentative budget, to go over the EDU process, since I'm new to that this year. So we went over that. I understand how everything goes where it is. We had a little bit of a discussion with something that we always have in there called lost water. And Thomas was telling me a bit about how they deal with it over in Clayton. And technically, there shouldn't be anything called lost water. It's either, it's dealt with somewhere. Somebody has a leak. Over in Clayton, the DPW works to give him numbers as to, we use this much water a month on our street sweeper. The fire department does this. It took the water department X gallons to flush the hydrants, or the fire department to do that. So it's an easier way to keep track of what's called lost water that makes more sense. We're not going to bill anybody for it. I mean, it's still water that's, but we know where most of 90% of it goes. It just shouldn't be called lost water. We need a new name for it. And like I said, it's not going to get billed to anybody, but at least we'll have an understanding of where the water is going.
Allocated elsewhere.
Right. Well, it should be an elsewhere. So that was that, and I think that was it for me for right now, other than the fact that we really, really, really could use 1 or 2 more lifeguards, so we have beach coverage. That's it.
Well,
Next, I guess about 3 weeks to the replacement of the outer dock should be done. And, I have about 4, dock attendants lined up for this year's season. That's all I have.
The golf course hopefully will be opening next week, at least just the walkers at first, weather dependent, and then eventually get the carts out there when it dries out enough. You'll see further down in new business, the approval of hiring a couple people to work at the clubhouse, 1 for maintenance. And then we're looking into a couple different ways to bring in some additional advertising revenue. I'm still working on some numbers for those.
good. Sure.
We started taking apart the trucks for the winter. We had one completely torn down and left the sander on the big truck just in case. We all know that Fiaco's been in, we've started all the projects that he had bid on. We have, we're gonna start hauling probably sludge probably this week. I have a couple of sidewalks that need to be taken out, starting this week. Of course, street sweeping is done, and, just getting everything ready for spring as usual, so,
Do a lot of work.
yeah.
Thank you. Zoning report, Lee's on vacation along with our council. He talked with, one property owner in reference to coming to the village board before he does a project. This individual's been informed on this on several occasions, so Lee's had to pay him a visit again. Part of the group that bought and are renovating some of the buildings downtown, the businesses downtown, some of them, he says, need a certificate of occupancy on the properties, and Bruce Bard needs to go to county and village for planning, and at this time, he doesn't believe that will get done until sometime in June. That's according to Mr. Schillel. Police report. Police department had 12 complaints, 1 arrest, 0 V&T traffic tickets issued, 7 warnings, 1 parking ticket issued, 3 warnings, 8 building checks submitted by Officer Josh David. Here. I'm gonna go off the scheduled at this time for the topic of replacing village trustee. Trustee Millett resigned last month, and we've had notices from several individuals for interest in being on the village board, and we've talked amongst us, and at this time, I would like to appoint Cindy Demo to replace Trustee Millett for the remainder of his term and for the new election in November. So I'll have Cindy come up with Molly, and we'll get you sworn in right afterwards, and welcome you to the village board.
Thank you.
Gonna jump into old business is the Ready and Streetscape projects. You guys don't have anything to do with that, do you? CJ Fiaco of Norwood was the contractor that was awarded the bid through the village and the town streetscape project. Last week brought in equipment. They started working yesterday up at the park to put in sidewalks at the park, and then they're gonna be replacing the sidewalk in front of the municipal building, playground on Anthony High Street.
Fences all down on that one.
That's just to begin with. Just gonna be doing a little bit of work with the fencing, I think, to move it up to the tennis courts. Is that involved in that too, Brent?
I'm sorry?
With Fiaco, with the fence up at the park, or at the tennis courts, is that part of it too, or is that separate?
I'm not sure,
Okay,
I don't recall that.
but I know he's got in front of the old chamber building and a lot of sidewalk downtown, right? And then playground, they're gonna be replacing equipment and putting a lot of sidewalks in around the park. So he's already started. The Ready, we're,
Moving along, we're moving along,
the Ready project, we're moving along. We opened up bids, and that's gonna be part of, new business, number 17. Because of the project being started in 2017, 18, and with COVID and everything going on, obviously the prices are a lot different today than they were 4 years ago. So it ends up that we are approximately 800,000 over budget. We're getting 3.6 million from New York State. And I'm gonna jump ahead here to number 17 in the new business. So we spoke the other day with our bond agency, and we're looking to do a supplemental resolution to bring it up to 4.8 million.
4.861 million.
I'll get to, I just wanted to bring that up right now, and we'll lead to it in 17 on the new business. But I just wanted to bring that up front. Anything else with Ready or Streetscape?
Steve, you asked about the tennis courts as far as the fence. Is the pickleball expansion
Yeah.
happening?
Yes,
And that's where you're talking about the fence?
yes. Because there's no reason, that there's a good portion of that fence that's usable,
Yeah.
that could be moved up to the tennis court, pickleball court.
So is the fence on the end of the tennis courts by the driveway, that's gonna be moved too?
Yes. So that it'd be opened up, where, I guess where the parking is now, is gonna be incorporated into the 2 new pickleball courts.
Yeah.
And I guess we're gonna do the parking
On the other side.
on the other side of the drive.
Is that fence the same fence, same size fence as?
Same, yep,
Because you're gonna have to extend the sides,
yep,
but the end is already there.
yes.
Yeah.
Number 2, electric car stations.
After our last meeting, I made a phone call. I forgot to write down the name of the company that I spoke to. But we were too late getting to them. They ran out of money the end of December, the government giving them money to do this. So we're on the list. They're hoping to have it funded more. And, you know, we talked about maybe putting 2 stations here in the village. We have to find the spots, but they're interested in helping us when they get refunded. And if we're interested in putting in any before they get refunded, it's $4,000 for a charging unit. And if I go and charge my car, the fee that I pay covers the electric bill and gives the village a commission. So that's all the info we have right now. I do have a picture, little brochure of what one looks like that we had from before, but I thought his name was James. I can't remember the last name. But when they're caught up, they're going to give me a call or email me or Molly about coming in to do that. Jarrett and I had talked about the possibility of putting one in the parking lot below Captain Visker's, if that, you know, the second space in. And we talked maybe here, someplace more visible that's not in the way for a second one. So just something to think about going forward.
Parking Signs Committee.
Okay, parking, Jarrett and I talked, I wandered around town with some info that I was given. And the number one thing that has to be done is, in the book, our zoning laws, is the verbiage, because it says no parking on the west side, or the well, and it's not the west side, it's the east, or, so that has to, Jared and I talked about that, how that got that way, you know, somebody's come to.
Integrated when they get the directions wrong.
Right.
We also talked about, okay, let's start with Walton at High Street.
Yep.
There was a letter that came in from the Johnson Marina about losing a couple spaces on the even side of the street. Do you know the numbers?
I don't know.
You lose about 4 spaces
Yeah.
there. And then the other one is coming down Church Street, the bottleneck seems to be from the distillery down to the corner when big cars park in there and anything large comes through. So I know on the left-hand side in front of the distillery on that side, they should, some of them are, but more of them should be for compact cars only.
Yep.
And then we thought about losing 2 spaces,
Yeah.
where, at the,
At the corner of Walton Street and
Walton and Church,
Church, right on the very corner, so you can make it around the corner,
right there.
on the very corner right there.
One on,
The one in front of the old, jail, right?
Yes,
That's what you're talking about?
yeah, down around the corner right there, yeah.
right there, and then on to Walton, one more there. Perfect example was the other week, they doing some work there, and they had a huge dumpster, and you couldn't get around.
Yeah.
And then is there another one down further, Church and James?
No, that's just about it.
That's it, and then, okay, and then, there are, at, Washington and Riverside Drive, there are no parking signs up, or no parking here, but it's not, the signs went up and it's not in the legal description in the book of those places. So, that's not changing anything, that's just putting it in the book so that it's enforceable.
There's that one down by Carlock's on Washington Street where they park a boat trailer all summer.
Right.
And that's
That's one
what
of
we're,
them.
yeah,
That's one of them that we're talking about.
Yeah.
The one off the end of High Street, even with our tractor trailer, we have a hard time coming up off the end of that street when there's a car parked right at the very end. So if we could do it maybe from the corner up to the old rectory or something right there, the first house after McDonald's, right in there, so.
and those will be new, but on Washington and High Street where the signs are up now, if somebody got a ticket, they could say, well,
It's not in the book.
it's not in the book. So that's one of the other things that has to be changed with that. And that's it.
Number 4, sandwich boards on the sidewalk. Oh, I called him and apologized the other day because I hadn't really gotten into it with anybody on that. So we talked a little bit about Church Street being a state highway. The state doesn't have anything to do with the sidewalks. The width of the streets, the width of the sidewalks, and then the fun part's gonna be with the business owners, that everybody goes out and buys these sandwich board signs. I'm gonna have to bite my tongue because personally, I don't agree with them. They just take up a sidewalk. If you're gonna sell it, you have a store, you have your signs, you have windows. Sticking a sandwich board out in the middle of the street sidewalk, it's in the way. It's just, that's me. But we'll have, business owners that are gonna be inputting on this, information from Lake Placid, and what else was there?
Old Forge.
Old Forge.
Yeah, those were the 2 that we used as models, as a starting basis for what guidelines we were gonna make.
Do they allow them at all?
They do, but they have regulations as far as size and placement. The reason that this has come up, just to fill everybody else in, that Steve and I have done a little talking on this. The sandwich boards are a big sticking issue in us trying to rewrite the zoning laws for the signs. as far as we understand, the state is taking a hands-off approach on the sidewalks on Church, and they're part of James Street and up toward the hospital. They're saying, we're not, whatever you do on the sidewalk, that's your business. What I need from the village is what your stance is gonna be as far as obstructions in the sidewalk, on the village streets that are down there. The tentative guideline that we've come up with right now is that there needs to be a minimum of a 6-foot clearance between obstructions at the curb, and those are benches, trees, and the posts for the meters. So from there in toward the building, we're looking at a minimum of 6 foot for traffic to pass both directions. 6 foot unobstructed. That's where we're starting. That may change. But we need to know what the village stance is as far as putting any obstructions on the sidewalks that are adjacent to the village streets.
And see, we've had no real set structure ever on sandwich boards, and they've been in use for so long that it's gonna be another fun one to talk about.
It's gonna be a real sketchy situation.
Yes, it will be.
It ain't gonna be pretty, so.
I think, you know, as much as we're asking people to shovel their sidewalks when we have snow, and people moan and groan that if the sidewalks aren't shoveled, they have to get out and walk in the street, and the kids have to walk in the street to go to school, or blah, blah, blah. To me, it's the same thing. If you're gonna put a sandwich board on your sidewalk, okay, but I need to be comfortably able to get around it. We should not have a sandwich board on a sidewalk that forces anybody to step into the street to get around it, or over the curb, or anything like that. And technically, you should probably have the width of a wheelchair to be able to get around a sandwich board if you're going to do things.
Judy, that's why we had originally discussed a 6-foot clear opening for 2 wheelchairs to pass in opposite directions.
But how many sidewalks do you have in the village downtown that are 6 foot?
We actually,
Are there quite a few?
we took a field trip back on, I think, the coldest day in December, and did some measurements, and quite a number of the sidewalks are actually about 10 feet wide. Certain areas like up Church Street in front of Knapp's Popcorn, they're less than 6 foot without, I mean, from curb to building is less than 6 feet already.
Mm-hmm.
So to try to, it's as you say, Stephen, this is going to be a real thing to try to balance the needs of the business owners, but above all, public safety. And of course, the village doesn't need to get in a position where they're sued because somebody trips over a sign and decides that they want to own the place. But we need a starting point, something where we can at least start this discussion. And as I said, we had, on the board, we had come up with 6 foot clear space minimum being a reasonable starting point. Now, what I need from the village is that an acceptable idea for the sidewalks that are adjacent to the village streets?
It sounds reasonable to me. I mean, if you went out and walked it and are comfortable with it, then you're just gonna have to make the adjustments for the sidewalks that aren't wide enough. And as you said, public safety is number one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it could be hard ones to sell, but you would still have certain areas that can put them out. Other areas, the sidewalk is way too narrow. Nabs is barely 3 foot wide in some places.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
enough.
that and up around the corner at the Dancing Dog, that's all less than 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
I just feel, I think we ought to just, we have to table this, and maybe we can take a day, all of us, to go down and look at different situations, and then we can proceed on what we wanna do and what we don't wanna do. I think that's the way we should approach this right now,
Okay.
okay? Yep. That's the way I feel about it.
Is this gonna hold up you moving forward with the comprehensive plan for sidewalks here? Or the
No,
signs
a-
and everything?
A short delay on this particular issue isn't gonna cause a problem, there's plenty to go over, but if this is something, and I would certainly be willing to be part of the exploratory group downtown, to see what consensus we can come up with that's reasonable.
And this should be sooner rather than later because of the moratorium on signs, so we don't have to do any extending of that and,
Correct.
because, you know, people are already asking about putting up signs, some of the new business owners in town.
I mean, we would like to get this process complete as soon as possible, but it doesn't make sense to rush it and make mistakes either.
Right.
Yep. So then we can vote on it next meeting or something,
You wanna table that,
table to our next board meeting.
moved by trustee DeRigo to table,
I'll second.
second by trustee Ballmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business, local law number 130-2.
This is local law number 2, Steve, of 2022.
I'm sorry,
It's local law number 2.
local law number
yeah.
2.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to pass local law 130-2, Village of Alexandria Code to amend definition.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Mayor Jarvis,
Yes.
trustee DeRigo,
Yes.
trustee Stroud,
Yes.
trustee Fulmer.
Yes.
Local law number 2, with the liability of the village code.
I'll make a motion to pass local law number 130-9, notice for the village to be liable.
I second it.
Mayor Jarvis,
Yes.
trustee DeRigo,
Yes.
trustee Stroud,
Yes.
trustee Fulmer.
Yes.
That's local law number
No.
3.
I'll make a motion, we, title and replace the new, chapter 10, brush, grass and weeds.
I'll second it.
Mayor Jarvis,
Yes.
trustee DeRigo.
Yes.
Trustee Stroud,
Yes.
trustee Fulmer.
Yes. Got it.
And number 4.
There isn't one to go with it, you just have to, decide if you want to adopt the tentative, or adopt the 2022-23 fiscal budget, and do a roll call, and a motion and a roll call.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 22-23 fiscal budget.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo to adopt the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Jarvis,
Yes.
trustee Fulmer,
Yes.
trustee DeRigo,
Yes.
trustee Stroud,
Yes.
Number 5 on new business is sump pumps, local law enforcement. Here's another good topic. Just about every residence building in this village has a floor drain or sump pump that pumps into wastewater.
Wastewater, correct?
Yes.
The question is enforcement on stopping these sump pumps. I mean,
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
And I went out with my guy today and picked the building and found the sump pump, because we have them in all of them. And if I'm not dumping it into the sewer drain, where's it supposed to go?
Out the backyard.
so we're gonna have houses with pipes running to the street in heavy rain, and everybody's gonna be dumping some type of water into the street.
I'd have to do 30 foot of pipe at least to go sump pump up to the yard level, say 10 feet, and then over to Cheney Circle and dump it down the driveway, and then it goes down into the village street and into the storm sewer.
Right.
So what's the difference?
Because it's not,
Storm drain is going
storm
to
drain
the river,
than
it's not being
sanitary
treated.
sewer, you're treating it.
Okay,
In the sewer.
okay, so it's the treatment that's the issue, to save.
The question was brought up, and it's,
Because we're not enforcing any of it now. I
So we
think
either
that's,
need to enforce or change our local law.
I think that's gonna be a bigger problem than sandwich boards on sidewalks.
oh yes.
That's all right. I mean, that's,
I don't know of anybody that basically doesn't have,
is it causing a problem, Jared?
Is that wrong, but I'm gonna say this. I would rather it not be in my street, say, in the wintertime, causing a big mess, than if it was to be put in the sanitary. That's me. It makes it a lot easier for me, I'll tell you that right up front.
Well, how did this come up?
I don't know.
It's, who put it on the?
Our water department person, so when he goes in to turn people's water on and off, he sees
that
it.
here's
We
the
have
drain.
local law saying that they're breaking the law. Does he tell them they can't do this? Or do we change our local law, or what do we wanna do? Because,
We're gonna have to,
Change the look.
we're gonna have to wait for Burroughs to be back
Yeah.
to really
Do that
dig
one.
this
you
one.
just wanna table?
Yeah, table.
It is, if I could just interject, it is an issue for your wastewater treatment plant because your plant is overloaded at times as a result of that. So technically, that's a violation of your speeding permit and you can be fined by DEC for that. So that's why it's common to be in local laws. Most communities have a local law that says this, many don't enforce it. And it's difficult to enforce if you don't have an adequate storm sewer system that you can convey all those flows to. That's the problem.
So this is a conversation really that Water and Sewer and I should have with Jared. Because I didn't realize this was such an issue, because I sat here wondering why this was on here and didn't realize it was because what Pat was doing, and then what he just said, you know, could we get fined? And I think that's a conversation we need to have. But what do you tell people to do?
Like we've always have said, take it out of your sewer and dump it out your back door. That's what we've always said to them.
You know, all mine are gonna go into the street.
So,
Okay, so we're gonna table this
Table
one.
that.
Motion, please.
I'll make a motion,
Make a motion, table.
table, some, local law.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made by trustee DeRio, second by trustee Fulmer to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cleanup week is gonna be 16th through the 20th of May,
Say that again,
May 16th through the 20th. Seven is hire Melissa Breer for $15 per hour as Sandy Gray, and Kathy Beal Court for $13.20 for clubhouse attendance. Sean Mason for clubhouse labor, $15 per hour.
I'll make a motion, we hire them.
Motion by Strout,
I'll
Second.
Okay, sorry.
second by trustee Homer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Number 8, authorize clerk to send back taxes to the county. And,
That should be water and sewer, sorry, to re-levy
Yeah.
yep,
onto the taxes.
wow. It's not too bad now this time. $4,186.70.
I'll make a motion to authorize the clerk to send the water and sewer to Jefferson County for re-levy.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Water shut-offs is May 1st, 2022.
So now the moratorium's over. That will put us back for people who have not paid in 90 days during the regular cycles, that we have the right to turn them off for non-payment. And then they will have to pay the water fees, to have water turned back on and off, and we could charge a deposit,
Motion on that?
please.
I'll make a motion to authorize this, water shut-offs on May 1st.
I'll second.
Motion made by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Homer for the water shut-offs of May 1st, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
If I could make a comment on that before
Yep.
you go on. Molly and I did some homework on this as far as the deposit, and in our local law, if somebody is behind consistently, we can charge a deposit, which would be their largest quarterly billing in 3 years. Did you do 3? In 3 years.
Yes.
And the way we have it right now, I think eventually needs to be changed, because if I have to pay $1,000 today as a deposit because I didn't pay my past water bill, when they make their next water bill and it's $100, that is currently allowed to come off of the deposit. And to me, that just feeds the being late thing. And if you want to look at the deposit kind of like, a utility, National Grid will charge you a deposit of $1,000 because you were in arrears, and that security deposit stays there for a certain length of time until you become a regular paying quarterly customer on time. They don't let you take it from your deposit right away. So that's just out there for us to start thinking about. Do we want to leave that the same, or eventually talk about changing that? That's it.
Number 10, training for staff trustees is gonna be Thursday, April 14th at 1 p.m.
That's our sexual harassment policy and our training and our workplace violence. It'll be this Thursday at 1 p.m. here, and I believe some of the town guys are coming over for, some of your town guys are gonna come over for our training also. The guys who don't have it.
Your training, what
Yeah,
what
the sexual harassment and the workplace violence to get our yearly training in. So it's Thursday at 1, and he's talked to Mike, and we've invited them to come if anybody needs it.
Because Clayton's doing one too,
Yeah,
that everybody's, a lot of people are going to.
yeah. So ours will be Thursday here.
Your sexual harassment, you can do online,
Yes, you can do them all, actually.
can't do workplace violence online,
No?
no.
What's the one that, oh no, that was, a different one, sorry, that was a plant training they've done.
Number 11 is to make sure library yearly financial report. We've received it, I reviewed it a little bit. Anybody have an issue with the
No.
McSherry Library?
That's so they have to give us a financial report every year to get their, contractual from the village, so that at this time of year, every year they bring it over.
Number 12 is police department change. Village board, I'd like to propose doing away with how we calculate the night differential time. Change it to whenever the second shift member comes into work. Will receive the night differential pay until the shift is over. When the officer works holiday, they'll receive the holiday pay until their shift is over. Currently it stands, we do night shifted differential from 7 p to 7 a. Holidays are paid from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. This time consuming would help with payroll, and what is night differential is the same as calculating holiday pay. I'd like to propose to have this reviewed, approved, and forwarded to the Teamsters for their approval first.
I think we should do it. I mean, I've been in the office when I've seen the time that Josh puts into doing payroll when you have to do, okay, well, they punched in at this time and that's day, and this is this, and that's that. And I've seen in the office the same time-consuming thing, and it's not gonna be that much of a difference. And, you know, as far as we're trying to streamline things, new payroll system, it's just, we have to force ourselves to get rid of some of the old ways that we do things so that we can continue to move forward. So I'd like to make a motion that the, what's the proper motion? The shift change differential be removed. Pending
Teamster.
the Teamster contract.
I'll second it.
Motion made by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee Stroud, to make the police department, holiday and night shift change. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. IMA, so, when did this start? Back over the winter? The IMA with the town of Alexandria, the town of Orleans, the town of Clayton, and the village of Alexandria Bay had a change in it, and it was a wheeling charge between the town of Alexandria and the town of Orleans, correct?
Correct.
And this change is the only change that does not affect the village of Alexandria Bay. But you need a signed copy for all the agreements, correct?
Right, but you're part of the IMA.
Yes.
Because you're the source, so you absolutely need your approval too. But you're right, it does not affect the village.
Okay, so this has a sentence in there that says annual update or something. What would that be needed for? Just the wheeling fee?
No, it's for the whole agreement.
For the whole agreement for what?
Anybody, suppose your rates or your costs have changed.
So we get to review
Same
it
thing
every
you're
year.
doing, the same thing you're doing with the water rates of the town. You annually can revisit those water rates, and if they need adjusting due to your expenses or costs,
Right, but this doesn't impact the formulas.
No,
no.
Okay, that's all I was concerned about. So, you need a motion?
yes.
I'd like to make a motion to sign the LMA, or IMA agreement for Clayton Town, Orleans, and the village.
I'll second it.
Motion made by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo, to approve signing the IMA. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Already done. Call rates.
Yep, so, I put in each of your folders, as well as gave a copy to Molly and Erica of this year's culprits. Pretty much just, all your daily rates just went up by $2. And then season passes, I think, went up $10, maybe.
What's the agreement we have with you on the use of the village and town playing golf? What's that?
It's been a long-standing agreement for a bunch of years. You're talking about the town taxpayers' rates, whether it be season pass, so I think it just affects the season pass. I don't believe it affects the daily rate. And I don't know what the number is, but it's been a long-standing agreement.
For the youth, there's a youth program, right?
There's a youth program too. Shucky was involved in that. He took head of that, and I'm not sure what the numbers are there. But that's something that the town has split the cost with the village for X amount of passes for the youth.
Usually it's 10 and 10.
Last year they needed more passes than we had in our agreement, so we amended the agreement to make sure that every child got a pass at the golf course.
They had to be a village or a town resident though, is where he ran into trouble.
Yep.
Because we had people coming from Syracuse, other districts, and that's where they ran into trouble. So the verbiage, we had to change the verbiage. They had to be a town of Alexandria or a village of Alexandria Bay student.
Right.
To get those. But I think it was 10 and 10, was it, maybe? I'll double check, I have it written, but I think it was 10, town did 10 and the village did 10.
Yeah.
Passes, we did 20 altogether, and we ended up putting the passes up there that last year, which was a lot easier.
We ran into kids from not Alexandria Central that came here for the summer and wanted passes, and that caused the issue why it was brought up, and just decided that it was just Alexandria Central students.
Yep.
So you wanna anyone make a motion to change the rates, the golf course rates?
I'll make a motion, we change golf course rates.
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Sprout, second by trustee Fulmer to change the golf rates for the 2022 season. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? AUSA Riverfest request, Fort Drum, MWR Riverfest in Alexandria Bay. They're requesting Thursday, June 6th.
16th. There's
pardon me?
an error on there, Steve, see where I changed it?
16th.
Yep, 16th.
They haven't had it in the last 2 years due to COVID. They'd like to reestablish and introduce Fort Drum Command soldiers, families to Alexandria Bay and Thousand Island region. They're currently working with the Chamber, Village DPW, Bolt Castle, Uncle Sam's in order to have a safe, successful, and normal event this year.
Jerry, you met with them, correct? Well, kind of.
I met with them. There's gonna be a couple different things that they'd like to change. One of them is they're not gonna do the trolleys, so they're not gonna have the tractors and the trolleys going through the village. That's one thing that they're gonna change. They're gonna put a cap on how many tickets they sell this year, so there's not an overabundance or not enough boat tours to go out. There's a couple new workers on this certain job, and they seem like they really had it together, and they were trying to change things that were causing an issue beforehand. One of them being, I don't think there'd be alcohol sold up at the pavilion this year, like it previously has been, so. Like I said, they really worked hard at getting this put back together after a couple of years of it being gone, so.
Yeah.
Why are they not doing the trolleys anymore?
I think it was just too much of a hassle trying to get through the village streets, caused so much commotion that they don't need that extra hassle and the danger of the tractors and the trolleys getting hit.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to let AUSA Riverfest happen on Thursday, June 16th.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo to approve AUSA Riverfest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 16, Hearts for Youth request. Hearts for Youth would request the use of the community room for Board of Directors meetings regularly held on the third Thursday of each month, 6:30 to 9 p.m., April 21st, May 19th, June 16th, July 21st, August 18th, September 15th, October 20th, November 17th, December 15th.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, Bubba.
I'll make a
Sorry.
motion. Give them permission to use our fund.
Motion by trustee DeRio,
I'll second.
second by trustee Fulmer, to approve Hearts for Youth using community room for Board of Directors meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the supplemental bond resolution we talked about. Again, we put the bids out and we're approximately $800,000 over bid. So speaking with, what's the name, Solutions,
Municipal Solutions.
Municipal Solutions, and Thomas with Dink, they have gone through and looked at a couple parts of the bid, and the question is, do we change up with the bidding, supplementing pressure treated instead of composite decking, removal of the gazebo from the upper dock. We looked at a supplemental bond resolution, which would be the easiest way, the best way to proceed, and instead of having it for $3,600,000, it would be for $4,861,000 for a 20-year period.
That's a maximum additional amount of $1,800,000, just to make sure everything's there.
Well, Chris and I were at the meeting where we talked about it with BCA and Dank. I mean, I don't have any questions on it. I think the Ready project, if you look at it in its entirety, is something that I feel we should do. I don't feel that we should start slashing and burning here and there, because then we're back to what I call an old way of doing things, where we get a bid to do something, and then we cut it in half, and then, 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, we're sitting here going, wow, I wish we would have done that when stuff was cheaper, or because, it's not going to get any less expensive. And I don't know what you would cut. I mean, maybe switching the company, the name of the company that makes the composite decking for the dock, if that saved us a little bit of money and we could do it. But, what do you stop? Do you say, okay, we're not going to do the wharf anymore? I sent Steve an email the other day. Pearl of the Seas Cruises is again starting, and right now Clayton is a port.
Yeah.
And, that is something that they should be, if we work it right, they should in a couple of years be able to stop here for a day, like they do in Clayton. We need to do the dock. I don't know what we would cut.
Got so much time in this project to cut anything, I feel we just need to,
If you cut it,
just,
and then
you gotta rebid it out.
you could get it into the legal part where we have to bid it out again. So we're paying BCA again to redo the bids. Then you have to advertise it, publish it, put it out to bid, rebid it. Where the hell are we saving the money? Because when we go through and redo with the engineers, how much more is that gonna cost us? Because you're not gonna do it free. So,
And there is no guarantee
right,
that anything that you stop today, we were having a little bit of a discussion saying, okay, well, maybe we're gonna rebid this. Well, the way prices are, there's no guarantee anybody's gonna come in any less. So my feeling is that we should go forward with this supplemental bond resolution.
Feel the same way, I say we just get it done. Quit going back and forth.
Do you need a roll call vote on that?
I need a roll call vote, and I
Right.
also need this to be
Yeah, right.
stipulated, that it is a supplemental bond resolution
Right.
together with a notice of permissive referendum.
Okay.
That's what we are voting on today.
Right.
Yeah, talking with the town engineer, we're putting our ready project out to bid, which is the Goose Bay deal. And he knows of 5 other ready projects that are going out to bid in the next 45 days. So this bid market is just,
Yeah.
you all saw what happened in Watertown. They
Yeah,
didn't even have a bidder.
I couldn't even get a bidder
on the
for
street
Watertown.
sweeper. So
Yep.
contractors are really gonna be tight.
Do
I make a motion, we
For
do
what I
all
just
that,
said.
what you said.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, seconded by trustee Fulmer, to proceed with the bond resolution, the supplement bond resolution.
Yep.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Fulmer?
Yes.
Mayor Jarvis?
Yes.
Trustee Dorigo?
Yes.
Trustee Strauss?
Yes.
And just so everyone knows, what happens now is we adopted the bond resolution, and then the notice of permissive referendum I'll publish in the paper, and then once that's done, we do the estoppel notice and put that, and then we are all set to go.
Okay.
Yeah, legal process and number of days that everything has to happen.
20,
30
10,
and 20, so
30,
60 days.
20, 10, yeah. Oh, no, yes. So, yes.
Good. Anything else? Yes.
Oh, just saying bye.
Oh.
I think we're done. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Did we do that right, correct, gentlemen? Everything went okay?
Yeah.
That's what I needed to do. We needed to do, sorry.
Okay.
Public concerns. Any public concerns? I don't think we need to do that, we get it all set. Right?
We're all set, yeah.
Thursday.
We don't need much?
Oh, that's
Okay.
for anyone who wants to come and watch. You need to do anything.
Sure.
They can get the
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Sexual
I'll
harassment,
second it.
workplace violence.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by Stroud, all in favor, opposed, time is
And then I can just print out right there who was here, just have everybody sign it.
now.